Bills fans, I want to give you guys a real I'm sorry. I feel bad for you. I mean, I'm so proud of what Joe Burrow and the Bengals did. You know, as a football observer, I'm a Dolphins fan. But I feel so bad. I was talking to my buddy up in Rochester all through the game. Tommy, my man from Mafia Sports Report, was on my mind. All you guys I talk about in the comments. And honestly, I wanted the Bills to go play the Chiefs. I don't want to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And with the gutted offensive line the Bengals have, it just feels like that. I mean, this was just an unnecessary loss. Bengals were just destroyed up front. Destroyed. And then the snow came. I did a podcast leading up to this, and I thought you guys were playing a neutral site. And I still said patience was going to be the key. The run game was going to be the key. But this snow made it more than key. It made it absolutely necessary, and I just don't understand Dorsey's game plan, his execution, or the design for the day. Bengals had the perfect plan and execution, and I tip my hats off to them because that offensive line was gutted. Now, I'm going to get into the whole shebang. There was some Daquan being out was a big hurt for the Bills. But really, you know, Bills got to know that this is a possibility for their home field advantage. As my man at Mafia Sports Report, Tommy says, they're not designed to take advantage of their home field advantage, which is totally crazy. So I'm going to get into the whole nine. I just want to say thanks for stopping by. Again, my condolences. I feel bad for any long-suffering fan base. That goes to the Bengals, too. I'm real proud for them. But I want to give you guys a shout for stopping by. I know it's not easy right now, but I'm really going to be objective. This is not about me putting a knife in. It's kind of saying what I've been saying for 2 years. But I think today it made it absolutely fundamentally clear. So, again, going to give you guys a shout-out. Shout-out to Ace Bread, my sponsor. Without you, without them, this show ain't going down. Ace Per Head's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. All right, the 27-10 loss, it opened up ugly. 14 points, 14-0. And it was really hard to see an offense that, with all the talent that the Bills have, to put up only 10. But the environment, you know, if you read Sun Tzu's Art of War, it says, know your ground. Understand what the environment that you're fighting in, and that's going to determine how you handle it. It's going to determine everything. Bengals understood it. They've been reluctant to run the football, but they've been getting back into it. They saw the day today with their entire offensive line trashito, and they chose the right strategy on the ground that they had. The Bills did not. Even look at KC last night. They relied on their run game, and it pulled them through. This was a game that should have opened up with more runs and not just draws. I mean, Bills really didn't open up with the run game. And then the second drive, I believe it was, they had a nice inside draw for like 4 or 5. And then they did a draw sweep with Cook. I mean, anybody who's run in the snow, you know that you don't want to get near parallel to the line of scrimmage. You've got to be, vertical with it or, at a slight angle at best. You want to hit it and pop. It's not like I just didn't understand those back-to-back runs. And that caused a third and about 4 or 5. And then the Bengals, they were getting after you. I mean, the very next drive, they got after you with 3-man rush and pressured you, and they just dropped 7, cut off the shorts, and it forced you into the long, and it was overthrown. And, you could blame a little bit on Allen on that, but you saw all day the game plan by the Bengals. They picked up so many first downs on 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5 with the run. They had some nice delayed releases. They were working different parts of the field, the long, short, medium, and an interior with the run game. It forced the Bills to be on their heels. Now, Daquan being gone, they lost Williams and they lost Cap. smaller guys. The guys they brought in were much bigger, and they use that size. If you play in the snow, fast is not always an advantage, especially if you're smaller. Bigger guys, they stick it to the ground better, and they can move people. So the Bengals understood their group, their talent that they had. They understood the ground they were on, and they were physical. And this is the thing I've been talking about for the Bills for 2 years that I've been covering them. Allen, and especially this Bills team in this environment they can get in the biggest games of the year, needs a run balanced or pass balanced attack. They don't have it. And, I want to talk about Dorsey. Dorsey's a thing. Some of the talent on the offensive line's a thing. But Bean brought in Saffold and Quisenberry from a run-heavy offense. And then you take these guys with talent in a run-heavy offense and you make them sit and pass protect all day. Saffold had a tough day, but he's a guy who excels in the run game. So how do you make him sit and pass protect all day? There's some kind of disconnect between Bean and then the staff, because he brought in guys to have a style of offense because that's their strength, and then it was never really accentuated. I notice some people say, it's all the offensive line. Okay, it's all the offensive line. Look at the Bengals. The Bengals had no offensive line. They looked and said, what can we do to get the most out of them? What's the environment? And they played excellent. Did suddenly they become great offensive linemen? They were coached well, put in a framework and situations to accentuate their strengths, and they had success. Then, you look at Mixon. He's a real good back, but he's kind of a bigger back. You go into this game with Cook and Singletary, and you give Singletary 6 carries and Cook 5. Singletary had 6 for 24 for 4 yards per carry. Cook 5 for 13 for 2.6. Allen 8 for 26 and 3.3. You needed the bigger back, and if you don't have the bigger back, then you needed to do something to help that out. Give Singletary more carries. Gilliam was playing, but I don't even see him play. Where was like a fullback? You could add an offset I, something to pop, to be more patient, to give this defense something to look at other than what they see is shotgun draws and shotgun passes deep. Now, I said Daquan was out. Now, Sweeney was inactive, and he's a pretty big guy, and he's a better run blocker than the third-string tight end you had, and you could have had him and Knox in there and got some action going. There's ways that even with the good front, now you have, obviously, a very potent front with the Bengals, but big guys, they have their strengths in the snow that they plant. But some of their weaknesses is once they get in motion, they can't return. So where were counteraction on the run game? You could have used that counteraction. There's a lot of things you could have done to get this run game going. I mean, look at the Mixon, 20 for 105. He had more carries than the entire offense of the Bills. And he had 5.3. Perrin, 7 for 33. And then Burrow had 6 for 31. Allen is your lead runner, and this is continually a problem. He's a super player. But when you put the cape on him, you find that he's not just a human guy with great talents. It's not the right framework. Something is wrong someplace. This should not have been a loss. It shouldn't have been. There's just two. The one play that drove me crazy with Dorsey is a couple. The draw sweep in the snow was like insane. You get a nice run on you're down 7, and then you get a nice 5-yard run, and then a draw sweep is just ridiculous. Ridiculous. By the time he gets over there, everybody's reacting, and he can't really dig and cut. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. But that 3rd and 2, just as the third quarter was ending, you're down 24-10. You need to get a first down. It's 3rd and 2. Look at this play call. This is a terrible play call. You can see, there's a little bit of pressure, but there's nobody open. I do not like the route combinations here. I don't like the options. So they allowed him to go deep. And it fell a little short. It could have, if it was thrown out in front, it could have been the big play. But I say over and over again, passing is a finicky, fickle type of attack. There's so many variables. It's way more difficult than giving the guy the football. Mixon opens so much stuff up. Singletary should have gotten his 12, 13, 14, 15 carries. There should have been a little bit of heavy looks going in. There should have been what Dable did last year. You get some pulls by linemen, and then you give Allen the ball, and he's got the convoy to the edge. And that's how you could have neutralized some of the size by the Bengals. But it was so one-dimensional. The entire game plan and play call was so one-dimensional. And Allen's going to take heat. The offensive line's going to take heat. But the Bengals you saw here were gutted, and the staff said, what can we do to get the most out of this situation? That's not what happened all season for the most part. And that's got to stop with the staff and Dorsey. It has to. I'm sorry. It just has to. Now, time of possession, 34-26. It's the end of the season. These bodies are tired. They're beat up. You had a big game last week where you got hit a lot. You need to have some small ball ability. There's very little small ball ability with Dorsey. It's all big plays and go deep. And it looks great sometimes, but you got to handle the small areas. You got to dial up that play with. You get the shave, the quote-unquote pick. That's not a pick. Where you get the screen play, where you get the small leak out. You got to have that feel for the small ball, and you got to be patient enough to run the football. And not just out of draws underneath center. Last week, there was 2 big plays. The Dolphins weren't biting on the play action. And then you ran under center and 2 big plays. And all of a sudden, they were biting in the play action. And then things opened up at the top. It's not just about we're more talented and attack. You've got to play a chess game. I did not see that. 172 yards rushed to 63 is a killer in a snow game. A killer. Penn's hurt too. 2 for Cincinnati and 8 for the Bills. That was a killer. That was a killer. So, I'm sorry you guys lost. It's so correctable. You get some linemen in. Get yourself a mixture of backs, a bigger style back. You play patience ball. Allow the play action to develop. Find some nice route combinations in small areas that have to do with timing. It's so correctable. Allen just does. Mahomes has the right framework. The framework that he has is the right framework. It's the run around, scramble stuff. That's not Allen's game. It's a little bit, but that's not really. If you give him legitimate run game or legitimate play action so he can roll out, attack deep, so he can roll out and run, so he can get guys biting underneath and hit over the tops and get some simpler reads and simpler action. It's not because he can't read. He can, but his talents are not the same as Mahomes. They're sort of close, same level, but different. So, I'm a Dolphins fan. I hope it don't happen. But as a football guy, a guy who likes Allen, a guy who likes the viewers here, friend Tommy, guy up in Rochester, I hope things get fixed. This is just an unnecessary loss. I really mean my condolences. Allen's a good guy, and there's going to be the questions in the offseason on him. But really, you go into it. Anybody who's played in a snow game knows you run the damn football. I say the same thing to my Dolphins. Just go deep, fun ball stuff. The NFL is moving out of that. It's moving to pass balanced. I've been saying that for years, and it's proving out to be 100. Look at the Eagles. Look at San Fran. Look at KC last week. Look at Bengals this week. You got to have that in your toolkit, or you will run into trouble, and usually in the most critical time. I'll be covering you on the offseason. Bills fans, again, you know what I feel about you, and I appreciate everything you do. So, Curtis saying, catch you next time. Be well. See you soon. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.